Hey, what's going on guys? Today I'm making a pretty unique video since I was looking around YouTube and I realized that there's no videos on what the most satisfying mantra is. And the closest thing I could find to anything about landing satisfying mantras was a video from about a month ago by Punchy. He described in his video that about 3 factors helps determine how satisfying a mantra can be. So I decided that I'll be ranking the top 10 most satisfying mantras using the 3 factors Punchy used to help describe and explain our placements. Also keep in mind that these are in my opinion and you are free to let me know what should be arranged or put in the top 10. Now, starting off at number 10, we have Exhaustion Strike. It excels in the function department by transferring your posture to your opponent on use. The strike visually looks decent, being fast enough and seemingly impactful. Although the sound design isn't its strongest suit, I felt this was a pretty good spot to put it in. Number 9, we have Ice Daggers. Visually, Ice Daggers are on the lower side, being pretty small to look at. The sound design for Ice Daggers is pretty good, but can sound even better when using crystallization. The function it serves is fairly mediocre at first, but when paired with Frozen Pincushion, its function is vastly improved, dealing pretty decent damage. At number 8, we have Fireforge. Visually, the mantra at first glance looks very similar to Ice Daggers, although when paired with Hell's Partisan, it looks much better landing it. The sound design isn't too great even with Hell's Partisan in play, but the function however is much better, by throwing out Fireforge close enough to act as a shotgun, dealing a ton of damage to the enemy player. Coming in at number 7, we have Strong Left. Strong Left in all factors is pretty great. The function being jamming your fists into their face feels pretty damn good to land. Visually, Strong Left is alright with a fracture in the air appearing on use. The sound design is also pretty good, making Strong Left feel and sound impactful on use. At number 6, we have Astral Wind. Visually, it forms a star from the cuts it makes, which helps give its astral part of the name. The sound design is also pretty great, which matches the astral feel of the mantra. The function of mantra is also very effective when landing it on your opponents, which secures its spot as its 3-star mantra of Gale. At number 5, we have Shadowgun. Shadowgun excels at its visual and sound design. When modified, it can sound and look like a barrage of shadow bullets firing at your opponent. The function of a mantra is also pretty great when stealing the ether and dealing great damage to your enemies. Now, at number 4, we have Fireblade. Almost anyone can imagine doing Getsuga Tensho on your opponent and feeling like Ichigo when landing this mantra. The function of this is pretty solid, being able to do some real damage to your opponent when landing it. Visually, it looks fairly decent and could be improved on by making it look bigger. For sound design, it doesn't sound as amazing, but since the mantra makes you feel like Ichigo and doing Getsuga on your opponent, I felt it earns its spot as number 4 on this list. Now that we're in the top 3, we have Grand Javelin taking 3rd place. Visually it looks great as it looks like you're launching a lightning bolt or javelin at your opponent. Sound design wise, it's not too great upon hitting your opponent, but the function of the mantra really makes this mantra shine in terms of satisfaction. As pairing the mantra up with Grand Skewer, you could send your opponents to Narnia without objects around and even launch your opponents into the void in the depths. Coming in at a close second, we have Ash Slam. In terms of sound design, it sounds amazing as you blast your opponent with 2 slams on the ground. Visually, it looks pretty destructive, almost as if they stepped on a landmine on top of a landmine. For functionality, it's a very good damage dealing mantra to use on your opponent. For our honorable mention, we have Rising Flame. This mantra visually looks pretty impactful as you slam your opponent down in the air and into the ground. Sound design wise, it sounds pretty impactful, almost as if you're making an explosion with your fist hitting the guy. In terms of functionality, it can deal some pretty impressive damage by landing the entire mantra with meteor impact, and even regenerate some health and ether if you were to land the mantra whilst on fire. Now for the big reveal, coming in at number 1, we have Rising Wind. This mantra excels at its functionality, being able to set up for combos, deal great damage, daze your opponent, and even suffocate your opponent in the process. Visually, the mantra looks outstanding as you uppercut your opponent and rapidly hit them automatically, and can even be paired with reverse scale kick to kick and slam your opponent onto the ground. Sound design wise, it's pretty good, making every hit sound all impactful. Now this has been my top 10 ranked mantras in terms of satisfaction. Let me know what I should make next as I edit part 2 and 3 of my Ironwalker progression. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys today. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.